Hi there. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. I just want to welcome you here to my uploaded video from YouTube and our Zoom call. I'll just take that down. So we're having a few moments with tech. That's probably going to happen every week. Don't worry about it. I am growing on the spot as you speak. So here we go. Today, I just wanted to think about something that's been really at the back of my mind. It came up when I heard about a book called There's No Such Thing as Naughty. In fact, the journalist who became a psychologist, Kate Silverton, was invited on radio program to talk about her book. And my sister, who lives in Wales, couple of hundred miles away from me, she put me onto this link, and I'm very grateful to her because this book has blown my mind. I came from a home which was very highly disciplined, and I would say that behavior is good on the whole. There are sometimes outbursts. We were led to believe that at those times we were being extremely naughty. So naughty was definitely a state of being in our house. And one tried to avoid it, but usually by hiding the behavior rather than necessarily having a conviction that behavior was a good thing. So I think it would be fair to say, in my case, I can't speak for my sister, but in my case, I became deceitful, and I would have behaviors that were about hiding evidence, deceiving my mom. A couple of occasions in my life, I was found out for having a secret stash of sweets I was buying with my pocket money secretly, and I wasn't supposed to buy only sweets with my pocket money because I wanted to be able to have them at the time of day I fancied one and whenever I pleased. So, why am I talking about any of this? You may wonder, on a live stream to do with digital security and support for parents and carers of children in the digital space. Because it's really hit me reading this book by Kate Silverton, just how much parenting is on a cusp and needing to change. I know that there are all kinds of types of parents, and there are generational themes as well. And I'm sure I came from a generation when parents were really not very restrained about actually clipping your ear or smacking your bottom, turning you over into your room for the rest of the evening without your tea. Some of that sounds harsh now, and I think it was. So we have trends, we have themes, and I know that there's been a lot more liberality in parenting of late. But I do think this book has an incredible insight into how we can really honor and respect our children and their feelings and their level of maturity without them feeling shamed, without them feeling cut out of the equation or inferior because they are younger than the parent. And I want to really just encourage everyone to read this book. I'm not going to hold back on recommending other resources in these conversations because I think, as a very eclectic reader, I benefit enormously from understanding various points of view and different source material. And this one, Kate Silverton, as I say, who's now written her sequel, which is now called There's Still No Such Thing as Naughty. It's an update on There Is No Such Thing as Naughty. And at first hearing, I thought that title is a bit offensive. Is it just some namby-pamby modern parent who doesn't believe in having any boundaries for their child? No, it's not. It's absolutely gold. If I just said in a nutshell that Kate is able to explain how we advance in our emotional level of maturity from very basic autonomic functioning, which is reactive and it's instinctive and it's what babies do all the time, which she calls her lizard brain. And children who are very young will experience unrestrained emotions and will have difficulty handling those. And the whole point of really maturing our children healthily in emotional ways is to help them to regulate their own emotions. They can't do that at first. And then when the brain matures a little bit further on to primary school years, there is what she calls the baboon brain, which is the equivalent where the lizard is the brainstem, the baboon brain is the amygdala, and that is the seat of an awful lot of explosive behavior. And we do well not to revert to our own baboon brain when we're handling that behavior in our children. It gives you so much insight into how to respect and negotiate and understand one another, and how to use uncritical language that gives your child choices, that helps them feel respected, and eventually teaches them to learn from your higher brain, which is the equivalent of the prefrontal cortex, where all our intelligence informs our actions, and where we can stand aside and look at ourselves critically from a distance and moderate ourselves in our language. And she calls that the owl brain. So as an older person now, hopefully my owl brain is well developed, but my children, your grandchildren, they have little owl brains, which are undeveloped. And so you have this hierarchy of the lizard, the baboon, and the owl that sit in the tree of our brain. And the idea is to flow to the higher level of thinking and response in all our relationships and situations. And we can help enormously by learning some of these techniques. And they're all based in really good psychology. So why did I spend so long talking about that? I, as a Christian, am also seeing organizations such as the local church on the cusp of massive change, as we see sometimes the failings of rituals and repeated structures and systems and processes that are not necessarily serving this new era that we're living in which we have to be much more relevant and grounded and integrated and embedded in the world, rather than thinking this to ourselves, kidding ourselves really, that being part of a church event once a week is actually making any difference in the hurting and needy lives of those around us and even in ourselves. Yes, it makes some difference, and there is a lot of value in the gathered congregation, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. And certainly there are challenges out there for traditional and modern churches to see how they are going to be relevant and vocal and really vital, essential sources of reality and revelation in our new world. Education, look at that. It's just transformed since COVID, not for the better. We have teachers striking or thinking of striking, burned out, disillusioned, and struggling with their really inadequate environments, and physical deterioration of school environments is a big thing. I don't know about that outside of England and the UK, but certainly we have our pressures in the education system, and we're still turning out children who can barely read at 11 years old. So with the online opportunities there are for learning, that does add a lot, and it kept some people ticking over during COVID. But now children are having this syndrome, emotional avoidance of school. And parents are having battles not just about getting to school on time, but actually about their children even going at all. So what other institutions do you see changing and almost imploding, if we're honest, unless we have new models, new wineskins to support and to serve these important facets of social fabric of our lives? We aren't going to have all the answers, but I do know that as family units, we struggle with the invasiveness of the internet. and the online presence that is in our children's lives, for good or for bad. We need the tools. So I am going to be bringing in various voices, different resources. I'll reflect on some of that and synthesize what I can in the time I have. And there are many groups, Instagram pages you can follow, and I'll seek what I can find. And I encourage you to bring those to me as well. Let's build a resource and then make sense of some of that, particularly invaluable in that it can be within a safe space. If you want to subscribe to Digital Trespasses, that is a paid and private group. Here it's free, but within there, we are going to have coaching. We will be able to encourage one another with real life issues we're having with our children. And we will be able to experiment with strategies that we're learning from all these resources. And we'll be able to use some of my skills with motivational interviewing, where we lean into the issue instead of actually causing resistance. We roll with it and we find ways of bringing practical help to you week on week with your actual specific children's behaviors. I'm no expert, I'm not a psychologist, but I am twice a parent, and certainly got a passion for character formation, which goes back years. And I really want us to be able to bring up our children in the way they should go. And they have a completely new frontier for us to help them navigate, and just allowing them to take over, allowing them to wander off. We would not do that in our own communities. We would not leave them in an open expanse of dangers without support and guidance and ground rules. But within the internet, we just seem to lose all our sense of responsibility. And I want to help those of you who seriously need the tools for this to come into Digital Trespasses for a small subscription. You will be equipped to help your children handle an evolving world that's accelerating at a scary pace. And we ourselves can be informed by the time they've grown up to at least support them in what they are doing then with their children. So I look forward to seeing you here in Make Fun of Faith. And then beyond that, Digital Trespasses, those of you serious about putting those boundaries and guidelines in place. See you.